Hello all, this is Farhana. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about cloud computing, comparing the giant cloud computing providers by their services and features. Cloud services market share last year for the top three cloud infrastructures providers were AWS, 33% market share, Microsoft Azure, 21%, and Google Cloud, 8%. It is understandable that AWS is the oldest player in the cloud business, so it has a larger use base and community support. AWS is known to have a larger number of high profile and well known clients, including Netflix, Airbnb, Unilever, BMW, Samsung, Zynga, and others. Along with time, Microsoft Azure is gaining a large number of high profile clients. Azure currently breaks about 80% of the Fortune 500 firms as a client. Its key clients are Johnson Control, HP, Polycom, Honeywell, Apple, Fujifilm, and others. On the other hand, Google Cloud uses the same infrastructure as Google Search and YouTube, and as a result, many high-end enterprise trust Google Clouds. HSBC, Domino's, PayPal, 20th Century Fox, Bloomberg, and others are among Google Cloud's many clients. All of these cloud service providers, Google Cloud versus AWS versus Azure, providing a variety of cloud computing services that are necessary for any basic organization. AWS, Microsoft, and Google collectively harvested 65% of the global spend on cloud computing and outgrow their competition to the extent that their collective dominance leaves rivals with only niche to explore. While the level of competition remains high, the huge and rapidly growing cloud market continues around Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Other cloud providers simply cannot match the scale and geographic reach of the big three market leaders. AWS now has 66 availability zones with an additional 12 in the pipeline as per the AWS latest news. Microsoft Azure has a total of 54 regions in the world and is accessible in 140 countries globally. However, Google Cloud Platform is now available in the 20 countries and territories with 3 more to come. Comparing the geographical coverage of AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, Amazon Web Service was launched back in 2006, a move that has paid off handsomely for Amazon. The company now holds an estimated 33% of the cloud service market, which puts them firmly in the lead. However, Microsoft has been making great progress with Azure, which is launched in 2010, and Google began competing directly with them both when they launched Google Compute Engine, their Amazon EC2 equivalent, in late 2013. In this video, we are going to take a close look at how these three compare in terms of geographical coverage, something bound to be an important factor for many people and business considering which one to use. One of the big benefits of using a large public cloud provider is that you gain access to their global infrastructure and can easily create virtual servers in places close to your audience or close to yourself. These three providers all have multiple data centers spread across the world. But as you will see below, they are not all equals in terms of coverage, far from it. For your viewing purpose, I have put together an all-in-one map showing the various locations currently available from AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Amazon Web Service, the cloud computing service of Amazon.com, provides compute, storage, database, and other services through its data centers in over 20 countries and more than 100 locations around the world. Microsoft Azure, the cloud computing service of Microsoft, as I mentioned, currently operates or establishing data centers in over 35 countries and more than 160 locations around the world. Growth in user-specific as well as Microsoft cloud-based products and services, including Bing, Azure, Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, Dynamics 365, OneDrive, Skype, Xbox, and Outlook.com are all fueling the company's need for more data center capacity. Google Cloud Platform GCP, the cloud computing service of Alphabet's, provide compute, storage, and networking services through its data centers in over 20 countries and 35 locations around the world. Growth in Google Cloud regions and the company's core products and platforms such as Gmail, Google Drive, Google Maps, Google Photos, Google Play, Search, and YouTube are fueling the company's need for more data center capacity. In total, Google operates or is developing nearly 30 data centers around the world. These data centers support Google's current and planned 44 cloud regions, a physical location where it clusters data centers that are designed to be highly available, fault-tolerant, and concurrently maintainable. Well, summing everything up, a few observations for you to notice. None of the three have a single location in Africa or Russia. GCP is not present in China. South American coverage is limited to Brazil, which is admittedly the largest market by far in South America. Azure wins Hands down, in terms of available locations, they have nearly twice as many as AWS and more than 4 times as many as Google Cloud. Google Cloud, being the newest kid on the block, has not caught up with AWS and Azure in terms of coverage. They have some glaring holes in their current coverage compared to the other two, with South America and Oceania being the big ones. Considering Google's significant resources and experience of internet infrastructure, fixing this could be only a matter of time, and they have indeed announced that they will be adding more locations. I don't want to give you the impression that these three cloud providers are your only options. There is a significant number of them out there, especially in China. Alibaba Cloud, also known as Alien, has its strong presence. But for the purpose of this video, I focus on these three. They are often discussed in conjunction with each other, so it made a sense to compare them. Information about them is readily available as well. Regardless of the providers, the difference between cloud service model can be confusing. SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS all sound similar, even though they are vastly different. The only real similarity is the cloud deployment of these services. Let's take a close look at what these models are used for and how you can benefit from them. SaaS model, software as a service, is the most common and widely used cloud service model. They are either free or have a pay-as-you-go model. In fact, most people already use such platforms. Gmail, Google Docs, and Office 365 are all examples of this type of software. Their other distinguishing characteristic is in the level of control. The vendor is the owner of these services while the user has limited access to their functionality. The delivery is extremely easy for the user. It works on any platform without any downloads or installation. Services are available directly in a web browser. Among the typical characteristics of this model are their centralized nature, remote server hosting, and lack of manual updates. What are the pros and cons of using software as a service? It's reduced expansion on installation and integration, quick and easy access, and streamlined upgrades. While on the con side, no integration support, since the service is not a part of the internal infrastructure of the organization. It may be difficult to stop using the service. Some providers offer a payment method that look you into using their product sometime without the ability to export the necessary data. Potential for data leaks and security breaches. There is a lack of customization option. The provider has control over the product and its features, and of course, limited or locked features. Downtime and performance issues, these usually happen at the least opportune time. With SaaS, you can't do anything about it, since it's fully up to the vendor to provide support and fix any processing issue. Example of such services, as I said, Google G Suite, Trello, Salesforce, Dropbox, GitLab, and GitHub. You can also see your own SaaS projects. When to use SaaS? Personal use, you are most likely already using them every day. Small companies or startup in need of a quick launch, they should be using SaaS. Small or easy projects that require collaboration, apps that are not used regularly, those are all the valid candidates for the SaaS model. Now moving on to the PaaS. This model allows its user to run, develop, or manage application. It's easier and often cheaper than building it from scratch, but it still has all the tools for the full cycle of development. There are three types of delivery for such platform: public, private, and hybrid. Public cloud service, where the vendor provides the servers, OS, middleware, storage, and other features to deploy an app. The end user has limited configuration option. Originally, this was the only intended type of PaaS, but with the time, other forms have also appeared. However, a private cloud service behind the protection of a firewall, it offers you the best security of all the three options. They can be installed on the premises of an organization and on a private cloud. While hybrid, as the name suggests, it combines some elements of both of the previous types. There are several pros and cons. It is cost effective. As a middle ground between SaaS and IaaS, the pricing for this model is also usually somewhere in between. It has more advanced functionality than SaaS. It provides the hardware and middleware that is required for advanced tasks. It eases collaboration. The location of the members of the development team does not matter. They can be in the same office, do some of the work remotely, or be spread out across all corners of the world. The PaaS model makes it easy for them to work together. And it offers quick time to market. It completely eliminates the time needed to set up an entire infrastructure. This makes integration quick and easier. and you can focus on the task at hand while the back end processes are handled by the vendor. Support different programming languages. You don't have to adopt to the language of the model. Um, as usual, there are some cons. Limited control over the vast majority of backend processes. Operational features are sacrificed for convenience and expensive at large scale. This makes scalability quite limited. You need to pay extra for each individual use or contributor. Security issues, you completely entrust all of your data to the provider. If the protocols are breached or data gets lost, you are completely out of luck. Focus on specific narrow areas and lack of general purpose solution. This puts the usefulness of the model into question for most enterprise. And the last thing is vendor lock-in. Software development on the platform as a service are forever dependent on it for future updates. It is difficult to migrate your projects to other providers. Additionally, some elements can be incompatible with the cloud platform. Example of such services: Google App Engine, Windows, Azure, AWS, Elastic Beanstalk, Apache, Stratos, Heroku, and OpenShift. When to use PaaS? You can use for software deployment at any level. When you have a specific deployment task that does not require infrastructure, or when you want to test an idea or experiment with a potential project. A mid-sized company that doesn't need to invest in IaaS yet. Now moving on to IaaS model. The IaaS model provides you with the virtualized computing resource then can completely replace on-premises infrastructure. This includes storage, servers, and networking resources. The payment model is often also pay-as-you-go. There are services that charge either for time or for the use of virtual machine space. As a result, this model is quite popular among IT administrators and organizations that does not want to invest in expensive hardware. It's also the most secure and the most scalable option out of the three. As usual, it has some pros and cons. The added value advantage is complete control over the entire environment with all of the aspects, a complete functional infrastructure without any expense on hardware or in-house software, and it's quite flexible because it allows you to experiment with your projects without needing to invest in the creation of complete infrastructure on your premises. It's quite secure. Nobody but you can access the data you store on IaaS, even though it's stored on the vendor server. Its safety is guaranteed. And it's highly scalable. You don't have the limits of the previously discussed model within this option. The resources are configured and allocated according to demand. More users means more resources and vice versa. There are some disadvantages. As usual, it is noticeably more expensive than the other two models, even at a basic level. It's your responsibility to maintain the virtual machines with all of its components. As a result, it can take up more of your time and energy. The storage of data on remote servers can be considered a security risk, regardless of the guarantees of the vendor. And poor support of legacy application cloud infrastructure often are not designed for that functionality. Example of such services are Amazon Web Service, Rackspace, DigitalOcean, Linode, Google Compute Engine, etc. When to use IaaS, IT administration purpose, website or application hosting, virtual data centers, complex data analysis, rapidly growing companies with the need for scalability. So what cloud service model to choose? As you may have guessed, the answer depends on what your intended use is. If you are an end user who just want access to basic functionality, go for SaaS model. If you are a software developer who needs a coding environment with tools that will help, choose PaaS. Last but not the least, if you require virtual machines for the purpose of hosting, testing, or whatever else, go with IaaS. Any of those three cloud services model is a perfectly viable choice. However, their users are so different that it's hard to define one clear winner. Regardless of the cloud provider, we can broadly categorize those services into 5 main categories. Compute and analysis service, storage and database, network and management, application development, security, identity, and compliance services. They are quite handful under each category. Explanation of each service is not covered in this topic. Here, let's check out the comparison of top features between these cloud services provider. You may notice that all three giants are equally providing the similar features with minor variables. AWS provides over 200 services, whereas Azure provides up to 100 services. Google Cloud, on the other hand, is catching up to Azure and AWS by offering more than 60 services. So let's see what all these three cloud giants have offering in terms of services. Compute service. This is one of the most important roles in managing computing workload. A cloud service provider should be able to scale a large number of nodes in a fraction of minutes. Storage service. This is yet another very critical factor and is related to data storage. This is database services comparison. And here we have network service comparison. Currently, there is too much rivalry among these three cloud platforms. All three providers have begun to offer their services according to the latest trends and customer demands and are likely to expand them in the future. And this is the hybrid and multi-cloud options. I was curious to know that how many cloud services are there with AWS, Azure, and GCP. So I checked this question with our friend ChatGPT. And here is the response. Amazon Web Service, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform are all leading cloud service providers, and each one offers a wide range of services. It's difficult to give an exact number of services offered by each provider, as the list of services is constantly evolving as new features and services are added and existing services are updated or deprecated. However, generally, AWS, Azure, and GCP offer services in the following area. And then you can read the detail. It seems like ChatGPT is also confused, same as me. So then I try to trim down my question and ask, can you please tell me who has the most services, number of services? And here's the response from ChatGPT. In terms of the number of services offered, Amazon Web Service has the most services among the three major cloud service providers, AWS, Microsoft, Azure, and Google. So it's a pretty decent answer, and I agree with that. And then I try to understand that which is the best cloud service provider. And again, I asked this question to our friend ChatGPT, and it seems like Amazon Web Service is clearly the winner, while Microsoft Azure is on the second position, and Google Cloud Platform is the third. Thank you for listening.